can hear me. All right, I'm live, I guess. Music you're hearing in the background is some old music tests that I've done. Power prog, I suppose. All right. I'll bring those down for now. I may come back later. Who knows? So, here we are. September? Oh boy, it's fucking February, dude. That shows that gives you a pretty good idea of my state of mind, man. Lately, it is actually Saturday. It's February 13th, day before Valentine's Day. Who cares? You know, it's a corporate holiday at this point. The idea I'm doing this every Saturday now at 7:30 ish. I think is the idea. Real tired today. I almost bailed, but I thought that's not cool. So yeah, it might be the one night. I'm gonna yawn at you a few times, but if there's anybody even here, again, I always see that one person, which I think is me again. My test. I'm looking at this, but I'm also live on Instagram as well. So maybe if somebody up here on Instagram will see that I'm live and come say hello or not. I don't know. It is what it is. I'm going to at least start the process. So last week was a rough week. Not this past week, but the week before. Though this week was rough for different reasons, I suppose, but less rough, I suppose, thankfully, than the previous week, which I talked about last week. I talked mostly about mental health, and yes, I am yawning at you. I think I fucked myself today. I drank. So, those of you who know me know that I'm a caffeine addict. And those of you that know me know that I have struggled most of my days, more so than alcohol, than with giving up caffeine in the form of cola drinks, specifically Coca-Cola, and now coffee drinks. And I've been trying to cut down on that stuff, and I have cut down an awful lot. But however, so one of the things that's happened recently is that Coca-Cola has put out these energy coffee drinks, right? So it's like, okay. So I was out and doing some errands today, and I thought, well, I need a little pick me up. I mean, part of the problem is that I kind of had two pick me ups today that I shouldn't have had. One was a Starbucks Frappuccino from a Barnes and Noble. And I've really been trying to stay away from those mostly because of the sugar content of those. But I had one, and sure. So I spiked there for about a half an hour or so, and immediately start to crash because, of course, you do. So I thought, okay, well, on my way home, then I'm going to stop and get some sort of other treat or something to keep me going or whatever. Like this whole day has been fueled by bad legal drugs. I'm just realizing I haven't recorded. Oh, well, that's right. It's being captured anyway. What was it? Recording to my OBS. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. So I stopped and needed a little pick me up. So I thought, okay, well, I was going to just get, something else. I was, tea or something. And so, sure enough, I saw one of those drinks, and I had said to myself when I knew that they were out, I said, "All right, I'm gonna try it once just to say that I did." And so I did, and of course, it had the desired effect of spiking me. Um, but as usual, the weird side effect that happens when I drink that, the Coca-Cola specifically, I've moved on to kombucha. It's a lot more healthy for me. Anyway, trying to counteract the horror story of what I drank earlier. So anyway, it's these Coca-Cola energy drinks with coffee, and it was a caramel flavor. It's like that's all they had. And that's not normally even my flavor. It would usually just be a mocha or even a vanilla or whatever. I don't even know if that's available. Whatever. So I bought it, and it's basically like, yeah, it's like Coca-Cola with like caramel something mixed in, like, so it was fizzy, unlike like the Starbucks canned double shot whatever's, which tastes more like, you know, some kind of energy drink, but it's not fizzy. And it was about as disgusting as I kind of figured it would be. Um so I got the spike out of it, but then I immediately crashed, and now that's kind of what I've been fighting all day. I'm just my this yeah, I'm also lacking oxygen, so maybe I've got COVID. Oh, I don't know. No, it's actually I don't have COVID as of my test that came back negative this morning. So I assume I don't have COVID. God knows. Um, but yeah, no, I think that it was a big mistake to do that. Obviously, ooh, excuse me. Um, so I was checking something here real quick. Yeah. Um, I think that I I I have such a difficult fucking time with caffeine. It's just insane how bad a time I have with it. Um and it's one I just I just struggle with, it's my OCD. I've got that. I don't know. It's, my whatsy personality there is just uh it just, yeah, it doesn't work. It really just doesn't work. Is what it comes down to. Um yeah, it's still working, still going, it's doing the same thing here. Um I don't know, I'm not gonna mess with it now. Anyway, sorry, I was kind of messing with some of my connections here, which is probably not a good idea while I'm doing this live. Um anyway, so yeah, it's probably not a good idea for me to do that anymore. Obviously, it hasn't been for a long time, but I my state of mind is such where it does tend to be my go-to thing, which is any kind of thing that will energize me. Um, Not that I really need it because I'm already a drama queen, but caffeine drinks, speed drinks, those kinds of, in back in the day, back in high school, and just out of high when I was working at a restaurant, and we our drug, the drug of choice that all of us used to imbibe in or with was speed, amphetamines. And for this anybody who knows what that's like, there was a cocaine. I mean, yeah, that was going around. I only did it once and didn't like it, but so speed was my pills were my drug, my favorite drug of choice. And at the time, so you're what, 18, 19, 20, in that sort of area. I mean, longer than that. I mean, but that's when that was happening. there was just sort of there was a specific era of crew at this particular restaurant that I used to work at. Those and anybody who remembers me remembers the Warwick, Rhode Island area where the old Apex was, right behind the Warwick Mall, and it was a restaurant called LL Evan, and it was the restaurant was owned by the LL and Evan were the kids of the guy who ran the business. Lauren, Leslie, and Evan were the children, right? And they had that place, and then they for a little while had a place in Seekonk, which is now the dental place where the Starbucks is over where the Best Buy area is there. That used to be L11 Seekonk, right? They never really worked out. They needed to get the first restaurant sort of squared away before they started looking into another restaurant. That didn't work, and eventually just kind of fell apart. Unfortunately, mismanaged. I think. It's too bad. It was a good restaurant. Anyway, long story short. So anyway, the cooking crew, the line crew, the prep cooks, those of us who were also dishwashers and bus boys and all that kind of stuff. We partied together a lot, and usually especially on a Saturday night, like 7:43 on a Saturday night was like us at our like hot and heaviest. There were fucking lines of people out the door waiting to get in. We were rocking and rolling, and we were a good crew, I think, despite the amphetamines. But I tell you what, the waiters and waitresses as well, we were all kind of doing it. But like just about every night, mostly on the weekends though, the Fridays and Saturday nights, after our shifts and everything was cleaned up, we'd sit outside and out in the closed restaurant and just drink and bullshit and have a lot of fun. But it turned into imbibing as we worked, and one of the things we did was we took pills. We took amphetamines that were going around. A lot of stuff going around. There was pot, there was hash, there was this, that. Hey, I see Andy has joined. So what's going on, dude? I'm talking about my. You probably remember the LL Evan in Warwick. Remember near the Apex? I used to work there. I worked there for like 11 years. And I think that when did we? Well, no, that's right. They would have been closed by the time we met, I want to say, because we met at AS220 in the early. Well, no, it was around the same time. So yeah, you might remember it. Anyway, so I'm talking about that. See. Anyway, I don't know if you were ever there, but it was a good restaurant. The food was really great. I would eat there. I mean, even if I wasn't working, I'd go and eat. But so what I was talking about was that in those days, these days my drugs of choice are caffeine and all those horrible things. But in my my early days, my young days, my high school days and stuff, amphetamines and pills were my thing because I liked I like the jazz of that. So those of us that worked at the restaurant, and again, I was there for 11 years. I was there the last day that they were open. And there were every Saturday night at around this time, so weekends, when things were rocking, we would pop them pills, man. But we weren't. We really wanted the restaurant to go well. Like we were all really proud of like the work we did. I mean, it was a restaurant. I mean, proud of bussing a table or doing dishes. I don't know, but it was what it was. But we, the line crew were good cooks, man, and the prep cooks, and like we were on it. We were like a pretty well-oiled machine despite the speed. But we introduced the speed. And so for a while there, for a number of months maybe, especially like on a Saturday night, which was always the busiest night of the week. I mean, it would start at the supper shift would once the turnover once the 4 o'clock turnover came from the day shift to the night shift, so we'd have about an hour to just get prepared. Around 5:30, 6 o'clock is when it started to, the line started to form, reservations. I mean, that place was fucking packed, right? And we had to turn things around. We had to turn tables around real quick. We had to get those dishes going. Man, there was a it was a the line crew was like just on it. It was long story short, it was like at the time, we kicked ass, and then so we added a little fuel to that fire, right? So for a number of months, we were highly motivated by what we were imbibing to make things go quick. But again, everybody was really good at their job, so and we wanted to be really like tight, it wasn't really talked about, but we just the cooks really wanted to cook well, and we all just wanted to do a good job. So the idea, well, let's kind of speed it up, motherfucker. Let's just let's get like fucking hyper focused, and and we did. And I just remember, man, we could turn over a table, like a big table of people that had just left. We had like the largest table was, I think, a table of 8 or 9 or something like that. We had 2 of those. And we could turn over that table with 2 people, and I swear to you, like 30 seconds or something like that. I mean, bust the whole fucking thing, wipe it down, replace all the mats and the silverware and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, 2 people, 30 seconds. The smaller tables, if you were by yourself, like myself, I could probably do a smaller table by myself in about 30 to 40 seconds or something like that. Bust it, wipe it, replace it, and get someone else seated in there within a minute. Right? That's how fast we fucking were. And then the same thing at the line crew, man. They were just like pumping that shit out, So anyway, this is going on and on. And then, of course, and then at the end of the night, I mean, we're still fucking off our tits on fucking amphetamines. And then at the end of the night on a Saturday, we'd clean everything up, and then we would go out front and then drink until all hours. And I know there was like one night we drank until I think 5, 6 in the morning or something like that. And the shift, the place closed at like, I want to say 12 or 1 or something. And there was just one night we went nuts, and we wiped out the bosses, we wiped out the liquor area, and he came in the next day and says, "Where the hell's all the beer?" And no one had thought to either replace it or it's like he kind of caught us. But anyway, but at one point there was one night, and it was about the peak of 2 months in or whatever it was, where we were doing these amphetamines and stuff. And I just remember the boss, the owner, basically saying something to the effect, "Man, everybody's like, it's just amazing how everybody's like really fast and doing things, but really, really detailed, and it's all coming out good, and like it wasn't and it wasn't sloppy. That's the thing, it's like we were hitting it, and it was real tight, And he said, and he noticed it, and we just sort of all look at each other, it's like, yeah, yeah, we are. Thanks, boss. Yeah, we're doing real good. I don't know to what degree he ever learned or knew, uh, you know, to the extent we were, dosing ourselves every week. So obviously, as these things go, when you're doing that shit to yourself, obviously for like a fairly, and this wasn't just weekends. I mean, there was you have to understand, this was every day for months at this point. And I worked. I mean, I didn't work every day, but I worked at least 5. My shifts were all over the place, so a little bit, and but I pretty much dosed myself every time I went to work. Um, but after a while, probably about 3 months, 4 months in, you know, that much intake of that kind of shit. Obviously, we started to go a little overboard. We started to overdo it. You start to get a tolerance for it. So that the 2 pills you would take at the start of the shift, didn't last as long, or didn't kick in quite as quickly, or whatever. So you started taking 3 pills, and then eventually it was 4, and then eventually it's like you start, upping the ante, right? By that 4th month, I mean, you're taking like 5 or 6 tabs a night. At least I was, because that's how stupid I was. So the problem was is because we were all doing it at the same time, we all crashed at the same time. Uh, which was, in hindsight was pretty fucking hilarious, but, at the time, I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. People started getting sick. There was one time where one kid, he was experimenting with a different type of amphetamine. Like, there were, like, these black bombers, they were a lot stronger and they were harsher, and I didn't like them. They didn't they made the high really bad, like, it just felt, like, crappy and gave you a headache, and the ones that I liked, like, they didn't give me a headache, they just gave me a nice high. And I don't know what the hell he did, but he ended up, like, I don't know if he crushed I forget if they were capsules that you could open up or if he crushed them, I forget what it was. Oh, no, that's right, they were black no, that's right, he could open them up, that's right. So what he did is he snorted it. He snorted the amphetamine, so this wasn't cocaine, this was like a straight, like, amphetamine, and he snorted it. And he had also been at the beach that day, and, without, like, suntan oils or whatever. So he disappears, like, mid-shift, and I think he was dishwashing or bussing, I forget what he was doing, and he just fucking disappears. Like, all of a sudden, like, we just noticed that he's just not around, and we're just, like, looking for him. Maybe he's in the bathroom, is he outside having a smoke, or, like, what's going on? Can't find him. And, and then suddenly someone walks into the inside walk-in, and he's in there sitting on a keg, shivering and crying hysterically. I feel bad laughing about it. But he's just like he's just freaking out. Like, he's alternately sunstroke because he had gotten sunstroke because he had been burned, right? He had put no lotion on, so he was sunstroked and high at the same time. And he had lost all composure, so they got him out of there, and he was just crying like he was just, like, having a nervous breakdown. I mean, scary at the time, man. And he was fine after, he just needed he needed to sleep it off, but what the fuck? So, anyway, long story short, so that happened, and we all started to crash, and the tightness went away. People started to get sloppy, and then things didn't go well. So yeah, that was one of those moments in your life that you remember and kind of go, yeah, the things you do when you're young and stupid. Well, so here I am. I'm just turning 56. This is back early 90s, right? So what are we talking? What is that? 30 years, something like that. 30 years, and I'm still doing stupid shit like buying Coke with infused coffee drinks just to see what'll happen. You know, so you may one gets older and one gets potentially wiser on some levels, but maybe not all levels. I think there's a deep streak of not just me, but most humans. There's a deep streak of uh, self destruction. I think probably even in the most I don't know the smartest or wisest or most astute folks, knowledgeable, learned, whatever, have a streak of self destruction in them. I think it's a human thing that um, is well, not to get political, but we're seeing it every day these days for sure. Um, but I think that's I think it runs deep in the human psyche. At least that's what I'm feeling is the case. At least for me, it is. There are things that I do that I self sabotage very, very easily sometimes because I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm why I'm self sabotaging, but I do sometimes. Um, which at 56, there comes a point where it's like, well, there's not much left to sabotage at this point. I mean, I'm 56. I'm not going to be a rock and roll star, at least at this point. You know, I often think that what's going to happen is like I'm going to turn 80 or something, and then some generation, I mean, well, we're talking what 30, 25 years from now, or whatever, and then some generation is going to discover my stuff and go, oh, who's this guy? This is pretty cool. Where is he still alive? We're happy, and then I'm just kind of they'll trolley me out on a fucking wheelchair out on a stage, and I'll just kind of kind of how the how Brian Wilson has been kind of trolleyed out sometimes a little bit for when he does live shows. Um, I mean, God love him, that he's been able to do what he's been able to do, but there are times where he kind of feels like he's just been trolleyed out to they kind of sit him behind the piano and they just let him sit there and kind of sing, and then the band kind of just does everything and he's just kind of there as the centerpiece. Um, you know, it's not always like that, but I've seen some of the shows that have been recorded. I've seen some snippets of where he's literally just sitting there doing nothing. He's not playing the keyboard, um, or the piano or whatever. And I doubt he's singing. I know he talks in between, but that's about all he does. So he's kind of a compier, I suppose. Anyway, so I see myself at 80 years old, doing that. I don't know. I've always said youth was wasted on me, so I may have set that I may have set that particular thing in motion so that all of my accolades will happen when I'm 80 fucking years old. Whatever. But who knows? Like my friend Andy here on Instagram, him and I have a similar sort of thing of like, well, all we can do is just keep doing it, and who knows? Uh, if for no other reason, just to do it, just to do it. Um, but anyway, so other than that, I'm just this week has been a little bit less fraught than last week, thankfully. Um, Fraught in different ways. Work is kind of crazy still, but the cat is seemingly better, and I'm gonna knock wood. I got him his medicine, which I think when he was seen the last time, he has like a pancreatitis kind of thing. Uh, um, which apparently is, I mean, it's not unusual for a cat of his age to have this thing, but it's not something they can cure really. All they can do are manage the symptoms, which is mostly nausea, which is what was, kind of making him throw up all over the place, and not, he was just losing weight and he was just like skinny, and so within the space of like 2 weeks, having you know, putting him back on the anti-nausea stuff. So he's been, you know, doing well. I haven't seen him being vomiting at all, and he's been eating well and drinking and stuff, and looks like he's actually putting on some weight. So that's a good thing. So I freaked out a couple of weeks ago because I came home from work one day, and having a really bad day from work, and he wasn't doing well, and I kind of freaked out because it was 2 years ago. You know, in about 2 weeks is where I was pretty much was with my last cat. And because of work, I had to, I couldn't be here. I couldn't be with him until I had to put him down. And it was just like, I felt like I was finding myself into that same situation, and I was pissed. So I, kind of, kind of, my anger and my aggression about it, my agitation about the whole situation, just kind of felt like I felt guilty that I somehow hadn't been able to make a different life for myself where I could be home with my cat and not have to worry about going to work because I could be working from home. But that's currently, it's not currently my reality. My reality is something very different, and I took I made those decisions and those choices a number of years back, and this is where we find ourselves. But I find myself regretting some of those decisions because you know I could have taken some different routes. But the problem is that those routes were fraught with a lot more chance as far as obviously financially, and I needed the health care. So I kind of, I to be pragmatic, I had to take, I took I suppose I could say I took the easy way out, which I don't know if that's really the case though in the long run. um, but I think especially the way, especially the downturn of the music business, and now with COVID, things might not have worked out well. So trying to reconcile my brain space regarding that, trying to resign myself to like, look, it is what it is. I mean, I can't change what happened. I certainly can't change my decisions, which led me to this place and time. Kind of is what it is, and just had a moment of sort of really feeling like, wow, I felt like I'd kind of fucked up my life and fucked up everything, and all because the cat was sick and I had a bad day at work. Um, it's just the confluence of bad days like that, which just kind of throw me for a loop sometimes. And I'm not a graceful person when it comes to shit like that. But one moves on. I I piss off a few people because I do. You know, so it's it's not something I set out to do, but I think my temperament is kind of what it is. I'm not going to change my temperament because I don't think I can. I don't think one can actually change your temperament. One can only control it or steer it. Um, it's just too, dude. I'm 56, and there comes a point where one's temperament is what it is. I've always been of this temperament. I've always been, fairly sensitive and kind of, you know, emotions right under the surface, and a little vibraty. Obviously, like I said, I like my amphetamines, but again, I don't need them because well, I can manifest that energy when I want to. It's tiring, especially as you get older. It's harder to manifest that energy for longer periods of time, but I can do it. So my temperament is such where the kind of job that I have to practice a certain amount of patience. That it gets harder and harder each year, is what it comes down to. When you're dealing with the same types of people or the same types of individuals who are very entitled, or they're very, you know, um, set in their ways, or whatever it might be. COVID hasn't helped, but that's the job that I have, and it is what it is. Um, and for me, the thing that I regret is that my temperament can certainly get into the way of relationships with people and friendships and things, and it can inadvertently be hurtful, even though I don't mean it. People just kind of get stuck in my wake, and they end up getting dunked underwater a little bit, and so I all I can do is sort of apologize, move forward, and try harder next time. That's all I can do. It is what it is. That said, that's all the serious stuff I'm going to talk about tonight. Otherwise, I didn't really have much to go talk about. Really, I was just going to maybe play some music, and now that I think I've ch- you know fixed it. So no, so here's the problem. This is the thing that I got to look into more technically, because like right now I'm live on Instagram via my cell phone, but I'm also live via YouTube. And in the YouTube feed, on the computer feed, I have obviously my microphone and my computer audio, which I don't have going through the Instagram. Right now, the Instagram is just going through the microphone on the cell phone. So if I play music here, unfortunately, the Instagram folks aren't going to hear it. So I may look at some things or play some things, and if anybody's interested here up on the Instagram, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can find the live feed there, and then you could see and hear the stuff that I'm going to do. I'm still working out the kinks of how to do this on a smooth / kind of slick level, kind of thing. There is I know there are ways of doing this a little bit more. Again, I just don't. Part of the problem is not having the time, because I'm at work most of the week. So I once I have the energy and the focus and stuff, I can go ahead and start looking at some of these more technical things that I need to do in the new realm of live this, that, and live whatever on online. Um, whether it be this little radio show, chat show thing that I'm doing. Um, like I said, I'm just sort of the thing that I like, whether there's people here or not. I just sort of like the idea that I'm driving this little weird radio voice thing out into the ether for whomever may or may not be out there. That one of these days I may just do that, where I just I do an actual thing where it's like 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. every Saturday night or something like that, where I just like, that's when I'm live. If you're there, great, or 12 a.m. Uh, uh, on the East Coast of the U.S. People over in England, Europe, and New Zealand and Japan can hear me when their day is just beginning or whatever. And anybody who's sort of a late night person can listen in, on this side. Um, Actually, the fun thing would be to do this some sort of simulcast onto some sort of FM or AM radio feed. These days, I feel like that would be a simpler thing to do. The way radio is at this point, I think that especially on the AM band, I think I would be willing to bet it wouldn't take much for me to get some sort of an actual radio signal going through the bandwidth. It's not something I've thought about, and because I know a friend of mine has done that. Of course, I'm forgetting what the call numbers are of that. Shoot, I wish I had that in front of me. Shoot. Um, but anyway, yeah, no, he got an AM an AM signal. Since obviously most radio these days is FM, and what is left on AM, there's not really a lot. News, sports, Spanish stations, religious religious stuff, that kind of thing. I think it would be interesting to get an AM signal out there, and just for shits and giggles, to see if anybody would listen. So it's all part of the long plan, if you will. Other than that, as far as current events goes, I don't want to get horribly. Yeah, it would, right, Andy? I agree. I think it would be cool to get have an AM signal going. I think it would be really interesting to do, because I would guess with an AM signal too. I mean, I could play whatever the fuck I wanted, so I could probably play music, without too much trouble. I don't know. I'm not sure the full ins and outs of all how that all would work, but that would be fun to try. Anyway, um, the current events of the week. I mean, co- at this point, COVID is becoming has become an unfortunate normality. It seems. Um, we're not hearing. I mean, I'm seeing a few stories here or there that there seems to be a bit of an ebb of COVID cases. I'm not sure what to take from it at this point, because we're still seeing spikes, but we're not getting it in the news. Um, like what the hospital capacities are at this point, what the I don't feel like we're getting the same kind of coverage on it. I'm sure it's a lot of it has to do with um, COVID burnout for sure. Um, the signal will go far. Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. The signal will go far. Now you're right. You're absolutely right, dude. Because uh, the bandwidth at that point would probably open right up. That's true. Um, yeah, I'm gonna see. Okay, okay. See, all right. I think you talked to Andy. You talked me into it. I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna write it down. As a matter of fact, um, AM signal question mark. uh, and what does one have to lose at this point? Not much. Um, so apart from the COVID stuff, people seem to hopefully be getting vaccinated again. We have a new administration who seems to be, actually doing a job that they're supposed to be doing, and trying to get people the help that they need, and the vaccination's out. So I'm hoping that happens sooner than later. As I said last week, Andy, that if once we all are able to get vaccinated, I think that I thought I saw somewhere on Facebook. Did Stewart get vaccinated, or was he? I thought I saw somewhere that maybe Stewart got vaccinated. So I may be making that up. I don't know. I've seen a number of my friends that have gotten it. Some that work in the front lines, but also a few that have that for reasons of age or whatever, have been able to get it. So I'm just curious at this point. Um, but so Andy, my thinking, like I said last week, man, if the three of us can get the vaccine, like, and I'm talking like the first and the second shot, so that way we're completely covered. I would feel, I don't know about you, but or what Stu would feel like, but I certainly would feel a lot more comfortable at that point of potentially, still with masks and still taking precautions and stuff like that, but I'd feel less of a problem of having people in my house and being able to do some work in as safe an environment as possible. And I've already thought about how best to do that in such a way so that they're getting the drums done as we were talking about. You know, I think it would be pretty simple to do. Like I would certainly set up my recording situation in the basement up in such a way where I could have one person in one room, I'm in another room, we do the work, they go back up the stairs and they go home or whatever. It would be still very somewhat regimented, but at least we could get work done. So anyway, just thought. So let's keep up with that. I had hoped. Well, there was a brief moment where there was talk of uh, getting vaccinations through work, since we're sort of, I mean, because being in education, higher education, all that kind of stuff. Um, that I haven't heard anything about that at this point, so I have a feeling that's not going to happen. I think that was a pipe dream that somebody, I don't know, put, some people were hoping, I don't know. So I'm not going to put my eggs in that particular basket, but I have to call my doc and say, look, am I eligible or not, considering my comorbidities or what? If I'm not, fine, then just let me know. But as far as I'm looking at the phases and what the criteria is, I think, you know, I think all of us, Andy, I think I think all three of us would probably fall under the criteria of having certain comorbidities that would, you know, allow us to get into the line, and not have to wait until May or June or whatever they're saying the next phase would be. So who knows? I'm just, at this point, I'm just, yeah, I'm, it's been long enough. Obviously, it's been. I mean, what is it was February 13th, so it was around this time that I remember. Um, it was that first inkling of what they were of them talking about the stuff. Uh, and I just remember, so it would have been, let's see, one, two. It was so beginning of March last year when the students went to spring break. It was the week before spring break, and we were already talking about it. It's just like, you know, what's going to happen after spring break at this point. And so the kids went away for spring break, and then sure enough, like during that week, it was, they can't, and we all kind of thought, it's like, they're not coming back. They're not going to have the kids back at this point. They're gonna make them stay home. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So, we had to scramble to figure out, okay, how the fuck do we, how the hell do we do classes remotely and do the shelter in place and try to work what a nightmare, what a mess. But somehow got through it, and now two semesters later, we're on campus and doing the stuff we got to do. But anyway, um, so that's that COVID normality at this point. Otherwise, other normalities that seem to be happening politically. Well, big surprise that they acquitted the dumpster fire. That I'm not horribly surprised. I'm just thoroughly disgusted. But I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It's just like I all I can hope for is that every single one of the people, the co-conspirators, in this situation, their comeuppance is, it's just a matter of time that karma will do what it needs to do to these people because, clearly, they're not gonna, they're not gonna come around. you know, they're not gonna come around and say, "Oh, geez, what have I been doing all this time?" And I mean, some people are doing it, but not to the point where it's like, and nothing I say to these people or anybody online says to these people is going to make any fucking difference. Anything that I put up online as a meme or a thing or whatever, it's like it's preaching to the choir of people that follow me. So there comes a point where it's just like, I'm getting tired of this. you know, and those of you who know me online, uh, I just like I can't. It just I've spent all I can over the past 4 years on this bullshit, and as much as there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's still a lot of people that need to be put in jail, removed, whatever, it's got to, what platform I have is very, very small. And to, again, it's to people that already, are already on the same page as me for the most part and already know the situation. So, um, and I don't, yeah, like the drinking and or have drunk the bad Kool-Aid. That's for damn sure. Um, and there's at the moment there doesn't seem to be an elixir to counteract that Kool-Aid. I mean, we're seeing some of it. I mean, I think like I was reading, it was yesterday, or it was like there was a statistic of that there are thousands of people dropping themselves from as Republicans. In other words, they're leaving their affiliation as a Republican. I don't know if that means that they're moving to being Democrats or if they're just unaffiliated. Which is, I mean, truthfully, I mean, I prefer to be unaffiliated as much as yeah, a lot of the things that I would certainly vote for are mostly in the Democratic forums. However, you had the Bernie Sanders who was independent at the time, so it's like he was the guy as far as I was concerned, but that didn't work out until then he became Democrat so that he could try to get but then they screwed him over. But anyway, don't want to go there. But so that's an interesting thing. So but that's a good thing. So it's just it's just that it's gonna take time. And I mean, it's only been a month since the son of a bitch is gone, and he's still sort of here and around, and still the stench of him is still everywhere. So it's going to take time. I guess. I guess from my end of it, as much as I put memes up and I talk about it, it's just like, oh, it's so the last thing I want to talk about or think about right now. I really, it's just, I've, thankfully I feel like there's people in place now that are hopefully doing the right things and taking the right tracks and reversing some of this crap and again getting the vaccines out and hopefully getting another stimulus out and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just hoping that karma will do its thing sooner than later in a very skillful, usually a very skillful way that karma works. So, because I'm tired of talking about, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing me talk about it. I know I am. Um. So, anyway, I think that I wanted to play a couple things. So, one of the things I had been doing, as part of hang on, let me bring this up. As part of a remastering program was I was um, I'm putting up a video of some stuff. So I have this very large archive of VHS tapes of all things various AS220 and or Meatballs Fluxus things. And Andy, have a good night. We'll talk soon. Take it slow, man. Um, I so doing a large sort of digitization of these elements. And but I've digitized them, but I haven't remastered them yet. But I thought it would be fun just to kind of trawl through a few things and chat about them. And one of the things that I have queued up here is this thing called AS220 Inside View. So those of you who obviously know me know that I was a part of the AS220 milieu for many, many years from the very, very start up until about 1999, so about 14 years, until I sort of had to remove myself because I was, once again, so I was, I was definitely, you know, in a place that was very difficult, shall we say? But anyway, so I ended up with a lot of the archive that I keep track of, but I wanted to use them, digitize them and potentially remaster them for a potential documentary or something like that. Now again, that's all pie in the sky kind of stuff, because who the fuck has time to do this, or the money for that matter. So anyway, I thought maybe I would just play a few things just for shits and giggles. There's nobody here, but that's fine. I'm here, so I'm gonna look at it for some shits and giggles. I may fast forward through some things, but here's some interesting stuff.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Ferrera. Welcome to Inside View. Tonight, when you enter through this door marked Beatnikly, you will enter a new world, a world of alternate art, properly known as AS220. This league of artists will entertain you in music, poetry, and theater pieces, from some of the most bizarre to the very conservative. You will be surrounded by various art displays. Art displays are changed monthly. As founder and director Umberto Cuenca stated, once you climb these stairs and watch, you become part of it. Now let's go inside for an inside view. A lot of people who are going to be seeing the show are going to say it's very radical. Are you trying to make a statement, or is it just a combination of feelings that kind of come out when you're putting the pieces together?
Do you think it's radical?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Well, I don't think it's radical. It's something that I do every week, so I'm not sure what radical is. If I don't know, the American military complex
is radical. Anyway, so for those who are watching on YouTube and can see this, there's clearly nobody here. I'm just saying, if someone hundreds of years from now watches this, or views it later, so I'm just kind of going. So there's this. I guess this was something that was filmed back in This would have been 88 or 89. We were at the Richmond Street location, and we were headlong into the what we were doing. And every Saturday night there was the Cabaret of the Oddly Normal, and there was a local show here called Inside Views, like that. And so this very conservative woman comes to interview Bert in all of his sort of Bertness. And I think it's just very funny.
Radical is. What we have here is just a forum for people to express original work. There's not enough venues for people to do original things that they've created. That's all we're trying to do, is provide an opportunity and a forum for people to speak their mind, whether it be visually or musically or poetically, or often enough not very poetically, but whatever the case may be. I don't know about radical either.
I come from, to me, it's radical. So the average person saying it's going to say, I don't mean it in a bad sense, but I mean that you do freely express what you're feeling. And I think everyone that's performed here over the last few weeks that we've filmed really expresses himself, which,
Okay.
good or bad or indifferent, I think it's good.
Okay.
Why AS 220 in Rhode Island?
Well, AS stands for alternative space or art space.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit. John Gray and me playing guitar. John Gray, more John Gray. All right, so here is some Meatballs Fluxus stuff. In all of their glory.
H 6252, effective without the governor's signature. An act and amendment of and addition to chapters 8, 9, and 10 of Title 36 of the general laws entitled Public Officers and Employees. Section 1. The provisions of chapter 8, 9, and 10 of Title 36 of the general laws entitled Public Officers and Employees shall apply to the following state employee. Frederick Lippett, an employee in the Department of Administration, shall be permitted to join the employee's retirement system and shall be allowed to obtain full membership credit in the system for his period of service as an employee of said department and any other applicable service, and shall be permitted to purchase his previous service credit in the retirement service for his period of employment and any other applicable service. Section 2. For purpose of computing the final compensation defined in said Title 36 of the general laws of Frederick Lippett for the period set forth in Section 1 hereof, as an employee of the state, said employee shall be allowed to purchase his service credit for his retirement account, provided he makes written application to the retirement board on or before December 31st, 1987, and takes into retirement system in a lump sum payment of the amounts previously received as pension plus the contribution he would have paid had he been a member for the period in which he seeks membership, service credit plus interest. Section 3. This act shall take effect upon passage.
What?
Huh?
What?
What?
What? Huh? What?
Huh?
What?
What?
Okay, I'm gonna move forward. Meatballs Fluxus were fun, fun and funny. We were doing shit that no one has since done, and I'm glad there's record of it. If nothing else, we have record of it, which is something. All right, so the next thing I'm going to play is actually me doing a bit that I wrote, which was me. I was doing a Bob Dylan parody, and the piece is called "Positively Lasagna." So obviously, it had it's about eating, but it's done via a Bob Dylan-esque kind of folk tune called "Positively Lasagna." So again, for the millions of people that may be watching this on Instagram in 100 years, or for the hundreds and thousands of people that are going to be watching this after this is done on the YouTube channel, my live channel, just so you know what's happening here. So here we go.
Very much. I want this room absolutely quiet. I'm going to introduce a man who's been an absolute influence on my creative abilities and on everybody else's creative abilities who've been here. Actually, this man needs absolutely no introduction. It's the world famous Robert Zimmerman. Thank you. Give him a big hand. Big hand. Big hand. Big hand.
Fishes and whale, I scribbled on a tree. Is it so hard for you to remember me? This wind is blowing so cold and sallow. Thank you. Babe, won't you help me? Warm my marshmallow, babe. Because my babe, you're down the flame logs, babe. Those colors you bring me, babe, just echo in song, babe. Oh, won't you help me? Won't you help me along, babe? This highway of the Fafla, babe. My mind is too greasy, and my bacon ain't frying. Like Italian dressing separates the oil from the tears I'm crying. My hunger is reduced to a hole with no doorknob. So babe, oh babe, won't you help me? 'Cause my oven's just blown up. Oh, because my babe, you're down the flame logs, babe. Those colors you bring me, babe, just echoing song, babe. Oh, won't you help me? Oh, won't you help me along, babe? This highway of the Fafla, babe. My heart has fallen like a souffle on the ground.
My heart has fallen like a souffle on the ground.
This in the lies and this chicken bone I found. So babe, I've got to say a mouthful to you, babe. Where is the sugar, babe? I don't need the salt you put me through, babe. Because my babe, you're definitely loud, babe. Those colors, babe, you bring me, babe. Just, babe, echo in song, babe. Oh, won't you help me along, babe? Help me along, babe. This highway of the Fafla. Well, I said away, and I drew in. Well, I know, it knows you may, I need, yeah, babe. Well, I will see, I know you, I may say. Oh, yeah, my babe, babe. Because my babe, you're down at flame logs, babe. Those colors you bring me, babe, just echo in song, babe. Oh, won't you help me along, babe? Help me along, babe. This highway the funk club.
Wow. So that, yeah. A fairly overly broad parody of our friend Bob Dylan under the guise of a man named Robert Zimmerman. You know, is what it was what it was. With Meatballs Fluxus at the time, before there was a thought that being influenced by pop culture or things like that wasn't like a sin, because there came a point where when AS220 moved into its new digs on Empire Street in 94, basically, mostly due to the effects of being hounded by the ASCAP BMI folks, that if we did any kind of, if anybody did any kind of cover music there or whatever, that we would have to pay, the monthly fees to BMI ASCAP for the privilege to do so, right? So AS220 basically kind of as a mild protest basically said, well, we're not paying that fee. In essence, though, at that point, basically made it so that any artist or coming in to doing work at AS220 specifically, or at least predominantly musically, could not play cover music. It had to be completely original music. You couldn't do many of the things, especially like the kind of things that I liked to do, which was parodying of things like pop culture. Other pieces that I had put together, there was one where I had done I forget what the content, I forget even what the content, it was just a piece that I did. It was like a silent physical piece, and I had done a tape loop of the Beach Boys, I Get Around. Get it? And it was just that front intro, get around, I get around, I get around, and it would just do that forever and ever and ever and ever. And I forget what the fuck I was doing as the visual today. I don't remember. But however, that was just before it basically came down that we couldn't do that anymore. And I always had a problem with it, because I get the idea. We didn't have a lot of money, so that would be a lot of money that we'd have to pony up every month or yearly or however it was getting paid, so that it would cover us if bands that came in could do cover music or whatever it was. I also did an act with my friend Mark Carter called the Silhouette Opera Company, and we did predominantly cover music in our own kind of inimitable, weird, parodic way, So that was out. We couldn't do that act there anymore. I couldn't do a large part of my own act, even though I did original music, but I also did cover music. Couldn't do it anymore. So, and I don't know, the arts are such that new art, whether you think it's the case or not, or whether you convince yourself or not of the idea of original versus cover, whatever, art is informed by its past. All art, I don't care how derivative it is or non-derivative or whatever you want to call it, all art is informed by something that came before it, and that's visually, again, musically, literature, plays, whatever you want to call it. Everything has a jumping off point from somewhere at some point in time. And I felt like when that happened, AS220 kind of painted itself into a corner where there was a lot of aspects of art and the things, especially that like Meatballs Fluxus did, which again took a lot of different aspects of pop culture, turned it on its head, and had fun with it. And we weren't able to do that anymore. It effectively limited us. And truthfully, I don't think it was a horrible accident that, the minute we got into the new digs at Empire Street in around 94, 95, that Meatballs Fluxus ceased to be. Now, because our one main venue kind of made us moot on a lot. I mean, there were a lot of factors, obviously, but that I think that didn't help. So, so like a piece like that, as much so it was parodic, so that piece I could still do, technically speaking, but it was a little dicey, right? Because any similarity to anything that Bob Dylan might have been doing, which there were some similarities, obvious ones, I was treading a thin line there. So, and there were a lot of pieces that Meatball Fluxus that, like, there was one called "The Feelin' Blue," which was basically all it was. And again, I think it was a Tom Hurdle piece or a Burt Kranker piece. I forget exactly who originally wrote the piece, but I know I think it was Burt Kranker's original idea. He just wanted us to play, like, fairly straight the Creedence Clearwater Revival tune, "Feelin' Blue." And I was singing it just straight. I was singing. We were doing pretty much a straight cover of it for the most part with our instrumentation. While Tom Hurdle sat in a chair and ate a watermelon with a machete. That was the piece. In and of itself, it was not groundbreaking, but on the other hand, everybody fucking remembers it because it was so weird. It was just the juxtaposition of that song and that visual just was about as random as it gets, but there was something about it that just made sense in its own absurd way, and that's what Meatballs did. Could never do that piece again, could we? Which is a fucking shame because I like to think of that as one of Meatballs, like, was one of my favorite pieces to do. I mean, not just because I sang it, but so anyway, so I don't know how I even got on this tangent. I think it was copyright stuff. Anyway, so I don't know. I think that in hindsight, and I'm curious, actually, basically the old guard at AS220 is pretty much all gone. I think literally the only person from the original days that does, well, again, COVID notwithstanding, that does anything on a regular basis, there's Keith Munslow, who does the kind of the descendant of Cabaret of the Oddly Normal with the Sparkling Beatniks shows on Sunday, every first Sunday of the month, which again they haven't been doing because of COVID, but and I don't know, or I don't think he's part of the board at this point anymore. But Bert's retired from the place. Susan retired from the place. Found out that Bert really has no real connection to the place whatsoever at this point, not even as a consultant, because of some recent developments regarding how the history of the place is being treated, which is not being treated very well and or respectfully, to be honest. Apparently there is, now I'm going off on a big rant and or tangent at this point, but it appears from what I heard from Bert from a conversation we had in December, that with obvious repercussions and things that have been happening lately regarding obviously obvious institutional racism, that kind of thing, that somehow AS220's history is culpable as being institutionally racist, which, having been there, is a load of horseshit. Now, was it basically the brainchild of a bunch of white people? Yeah, okay. Sure it was. But it was never exclusionary, not by a fucking long shot. Those that are too young to who know that history are just making a lot of awful assumptions about AS220 and its trajectory and where it started. And it's taken 30 years now. Well, whatever. It's what is it now? 20, 30, 35 years. It's taken 35 years to where it started. Where Bert's original mission, which had to do with what the art was about, had nothing to do with race. It was about art being unjuried, anybody's art, not just a white person's art, anybody's art. I saw pretty much every single art show at that space for 14 to 20 years, as did most of us. Anybody from a current generation that's either running AS220, a regular at AS220, in a position to rewrite the history of AS220, needs to step the fuck back for a second, and needs to listen to those of us that were actually at the fucking place. To say, just to sort of infer that there was an institutional racism, and we're not talking the institutional racism writ large that we know we all are a part of. That's different. That's a whole other fucking level of institutional racism that, is hopefully being addressed. To infer that how AS220 was birthed and the reasons why it was birthed and who birthed it somehow makes it culpable in some sort of institutionalized racist system is a load of horse shit. Now, those of us that lived it and were part of it know the truth. Was it predominantly white for a long time? Sure. Yeah, it was. But it was in no way, shape, or form purposefully perpetuated that way. Again, there were many, many nights of very, very varied acts with people of all races, creeds, colors, and orientations on any given day or night, all at the same time. It was what it was. To infer that it was somehow institutionally racist and that somehow that's how we operated is, I'm going to say it again, it's a load of horseshit. So if anybody from the current AS220 sort of leadership is hearing this, and I hope they do, y'all need to pull back a little bit. I get what you're trying to do. Believe me, I understand with the current climate of things in this country, that there needs to be a reckoning on a lot of levels in a lot of communities. That I get it. I'm a part of it. I'm all for it. I support it. However, do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. AS220 shouldn't be in your sights, man. At this point, it's like you have to think. You have to start like thinking, surgically here. You can't just sort of do a large, sort of broad swath that everything is racist. Again, not addressing the racism writ large in this country or on this planet, for that matter. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a very specific instance here. So, when I had this conversation with Bert, I was sort of flabbergasted a little bit that that's where things have ended up. And that kind of pisses me off. I left because I needed to, because I was shattered. I was, alcoholic. I was emotionally shattered. So I left when I did, but, and at the time things were becoming just that much more, integrated, if you will. There was more of an outreach. Uh-oh. You want to come up? Come on. Come on. Dude.
You're a pest.
All right. The pest is here. Yeah. So, just before I left, there was more of an outreach to a lot of different communities that I think were reticent to come into AS220 for maybe some of those reasons. Maybe they somehow thought that they were excluded, mainly because they've been excluded everywhere else, but they were never excluded. Ever. So I think that in watching some of this old AS220 footage, it's easy to kind of infer that it was just a bunch of white folks doing stuff. But it's like, again, there's a lot of things in this in the culture, in the arts especially, that okay, we get it. And there's been a lot of institutionalized racism in the culture, in the mainstream, in the fringe, and we get it. We get that for sure. Are some of us or a lot of us, or most of us that are white, somewhat culpable in that regard? If unconscious to it, yeah, for sure. It's easy to grow up the way we did. I certainly had an easy time growing up. I didn't have to worry about being stopped while black. I never will. However, to label what we did and the work we did at AS220 as somehow being overtly or somehow intrinsically racist just because there wasn't a fully integrated something or other, like, with Meatballs Fluxus. Was it a bunch of white folks in a band? Yeah. Okay. It was. I mean, I don't know how other way to say it, but it wasn't something that we sat around and saying we can only have white members in the band. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not how it worked, So I know it's an odd subject, and it's a weird subject that I didn't really think I'd be talking about tonight, but I felt like I think it kind of, again, with the conversation that I had over Christmas with Bert about it, I found a little distressing. I find it distressing that the thing that he gave birth to, his original mission for the space, and he now, after retiring from the job, but still having a connectivity to it via a pension kind of thing, and or a role on the board as a as someone to go to, he purposefully basically said, yeah, no, I'm out. It's all yours. Have fun with it. Do what you're gonna do. I find that sad. And I find it sad that the people that are currently running it somehow allowed that to happen. To me, that says to me that, like, the folks that are currently running it don't know what they're doing, or they've overreached, and by overreaching that, they may severely damage the whole point of the mission of the place. Just saying, they need to maybe look again at this, and I hope they do. With that in mind, I'm going to play some more stuff of Meatballs Fluxus. So here we go. Most of these pieces I just have no memory of doing. I mean, again, thankfully they exist on tape because I don't, we did so much material every week. All right.
You all right?
Oh my god! It's a surprise I never made any money. Wow.
And if anyone came in late, Herbie Hancock's going to do another set for you tonight. So just hang in there.
Why did you start AS220?
So funny. Yeah. Anyway, so for those of you who on Instagram, all the millions of you that are up here, it was basically, I don't know, weird piece of Tom Hurdle playing a childlike keyboard, both Bert and Tom wearing our old West Warwick High School overlays. I'm on a tricycle with a birthday hat on and a bunch of Sesame Street character puppets and things that I'm running over and talking with, and then I fall over and I start to cry. While Jerry, in his finery as the master of ceremonies, is putting up laundry, and then Susan Clausen is effectively just putting on all of these clothes. If there's an internal thread or context in regard that to any of that's at all connected, then I'm potentially missing it, because that's what we did. There were times where the threads were there for purposely, but there was a lot of times where it was just like, let's do 4 very disparate things 3 or 4 very disparate things together at the same time on the stage, and just let those disparate things kind of reveal connectivity or some or context on its own, and that would be up to the the person watching or listening to make up their own mind as to what the hell that was. And that's another thing that we got a lot as Meatballs Fluxus is that we would talk to people, after, like, especially when we did some touring, we would get, when it was away from Providence, when it was away from our home base, we would talk with people after the shows, and people that were, from different areas of the country that really didn't have this kind of stuff, especially down south. And they would come to us, and they would be very excited and talk to us about what they thought a particular piece was about. And it would be the kind of thing where it's just like, sure, whatever you think, whether it's what we thought or not, it didn't matter. It was that was always an interesting thing, is to see how people would interpret our work to be, or not to be, for that matter. I liked it because, at times, again, we had our own thoughts of about
Risk I won't take with my life.
what the heck is that? No, sorry, I thought that looked like Donald Trump there for a second. It was going to be weird. What the hell? Oh, that's right. This had Eugene Chadbourne in it. Okay, here's something interesting. Okay, so those of you who know who Eugene Chadbourne is, obviously he's a very iconoclastic, unique performer, and he was one of the artists that was interviewed by this very mainstream sort of soccer mom kind of person. And I wouldn't want to play this, though, without his permission. But I do have it, so it's good to know that I at least have it. That I'd like to kind of contact him and see if he'd also be interested in maybe getting this footage, having this footage. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to contact Eugene Chadbourne. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to show that footage because, again, I wouldn't want to do that without his okay. So, let's see. Let's see if there's any others. Any other bits and pieces that might be funny to watch. I mean, there's a lot, obviously. I looked at that one recently. Let's see, does this have sound?
What I call you? Mama? Mama. No, that's a go too far.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can watch this. All right. This was so. All right, so this next bit or piece was to a long form sketch / bit called Ejacula. TV Pro Jacks, 3 rounds of heavyweight full contact professional jack playing. All nude grudge match with Dmitry Lucizagus Shostakovich and versus Igor Lowball Stravinsky. Now, I was Lowball Stravinsky in this particular pageant. This is a promo that we did that was played before the live show. It's in horrid shape, and I was never able to find a good version of this, both the audio and the video, but I have what I have. You can kind of get a sense of it, but it's basically Manny Silva dressed as his own version of Guido Sarducci, but is dressed as a nun. Tom Hurdle and I as the protagonists, and then in the background, Bert and Russell doing whatever the hell they're doing. Jim Finnerty as well. But yeah, again, this is for all of the millions of people that are going to be watching this hundreds of years from now, for no other reason because they have no choice. Anyway, so this is the promo for Ejacula, and you'll again. Disclaimer is that the quality of this is not the best. So
I love that sound. Mother Guido Sarducci here live down here in the Pro Draft Gymnasium with the two grudge match opponents right here. Igor Lobo.
you know what it reminds me of?
Stravinsky.
I'm gonna pause this for a second. You know what this reminds me of? The sort of horrible nature of the fact that like the tape kind of like the way it's playing, the way the only way I could digitize it, what I could get down there was like the VHS tape was damaged. It reminds me of that thing that happened in the late 70s where the broadcasts somebody like hacked into a broadcast locally a couple of times and they never found out who did it. That's what this sort of reminds me of, actually. I mean, ironically and accidentally, is that somehow this was like, some sort of hacked into like mainstream. Like, I could edit that in as if it was a thing and make something of that. To be honest, it would be funny to do. Anyway.
And his opponent, he's the champion. He's holding the belt in the professional TV projects. And his opponent,
that's me.
Dimitri, Rusa the Goose, Strastakovich right here.
Shostakovich.
Strastakovich.
What are you trying to do?
Well, a gentleman.
I'm Igor.
Igor is
wow, a lot of bad Italian accents here.
Know your name.
I'm glad you gentlemen are having me down here to interview you.
Nice to have you down, cutie.
It's a pretty shabby gymnasium.
Right here, we're talking money, baby. We're putting money up there, baby.
Maybe we'd like to make a donation to the church.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's always been about money.
Always. And what is going on with you guys?
Yeah, for him, maybe. There's 6 points on the checks, right?
He's a dirty son of a bitch.
He's a dirty son of a bitch. You know what he does with his money? He throws it. I don't do that with my money, man. I spend my money. I spend it.
There's some rumors are going around that one of you, or maybe even both of you guys, is a pencil neck geek.
That's him. He's from Pennsylvania, Ohio. Well, nothing.
Any response? There you go.
Yeah. I could just spin this, and that would be the end of that.
He's getting old.
I'm champ.
Look at that. He's senile.
I'm champ.
I'm senile. Champa, how do you respond to Dimitri's claim that he's going to eat you alive in the battle ring tonight?
Tabasco.
Where's the Tabasco sauce?
I'm just going to stick this in his eye.
I can't find it. I got shield. Keep your hands off of me.
What?
I said, keep your hands off of my body.
I didn't touch your body.
All of you professional sports nuts are like to put your hands on my body. Well, I don't remember this before.
Now that you mention it.
I know to mention it.
Speaking of your body.
See?
Sister?
Mother.
Mother. Can I call you mom?
You can call me mom. I'll let you call me mom. You, what? All right, I'll let you rub my arm, but keep your hand off of my tits.
What?
Oh,
Good.
no.
You got nice tits here.
All right.
Could I call you Mama?
Mama. No, that's a go too far.
How about I call you Big Mama?
No, that's a go even further than what he.
How about Big Bertha? Hi, Mama. Sister Bertha?
I'm going to tell you something. You're lucky I just went over my foot.
I'm sorry, you're right, I'm lucky.
I'm
all over my shoes.
So for tonight, what do you predict, champ? Are you going to pay You're gonna get your hand off of my foot, huh? You're gonna maintain your title?
I'm going to maintain my title, and I'm going to maintain the fat dog start.
I don't know. Liz does. What about you, Dimitri? The claim is going to be the greatest upset in the Pro Jack of history.
You damn right I'm upset. You see what this guy did? Phone calls in the middle of the night. That's what he's doing. Talking about money. Isn't that boy here? How much money you got? Huh? That's what I want to know. I haven't told you. I haven't told you. It's your fault. You got my money, buddy. I haven't told about that. I like that. Oh, shut up.
You heard it, folks. That young man said he wants to donate all that money to my church, and I'm very, very, very happy.
Who said that? That's what I didn't say that. You didn't say that. That's what a Harvard educational group for man. I want everybody to stay in school. Because look at that guy flashing all those big bucks, man. That's what a Harvard educational group for man. You kids, you stay in school. You stay in school and don't do a lot of drugs.
This guy's a high school dropout.
Well, I don't think kids should do a lot of drugs.
We got a few solemn words from a Dimitri. No, the other Dimitri.
I'm Dimitri.
My sincere apology.
Yeah, I bet. Do you think kids should do a lot of women?
Yeah, I agree with him on that.
Do you think kids should do a lot of women?
I think the kids should do a lot of something. Yeah.
Well, look, I like to do a lot of women. What do you do them with? You learn this game. What'd you learn? I learned this game on the playground.
I didn't learn that on the playground, buddy. I learned that in flight school. I'm telling you. This says she's gonna burn me here. Sure. There's a rumors going around that you're gonna pull the rope-a-dope on Igor over here tonight. A rope-a-dope or a jack-a-dope or a jacking-off or something like that.
Pope-a-dope, yeah.
The pope-a-dope. That's the new one.
You got a pussy?
I got two of them. The one I sit on and the one I sent it to work. Are they both named Sam? No? Anyway. Dimitri? Wow. Spit it out. Tell him what you've been
This is all improvised. If you hadn't noticed.
I just did. That's enough. I'm gonna beat the pants off of this guy. I swear to God. I'm gonna win this guy. I'm gonna win it too. I'm gonna win it now. I'm gonna win it with my play. He's gonna lose.
Here's the thing about this guy. This guy, that guy, he can't get past onesies.
That's what he'd like to say. That's what he'd like to say. He's blind. He's so old, he's blind.
Say, dude.
Sarducci.
Sarducci.
Mother Sarducci.
Like one of these?
No.
Would you like one of these?
No, I thank you very much. But I don't want one. I don't want that. I don't want one. You gotta pay me. We're going to be cutting out now. We're hoping to see you tonight.
I'm gonna see you.
We want to see you tonight at the professional project. Going to be an upset, maybe not. Who's going to lose? Igor or Dimitri?
Igor.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely has that sort of like we just cut into the mainstream TV thing. Wow. Anyway, yeah. So anybody seeing that, obviously, that's special. Ejacula on its own is special enough as well. I'm not playing that particular bit of stuff and such. Let's see what I could do. Let's see if I can play this one. This is some TV footage of so Meatballs Fluxus did a tour in 1990. Yeah, June of 1990. Wow. We're already talking, we're talking, what are we talking? Jeepers, 31 years. Yeah. Well, 31 years ago. Anyway, we did a tour of about half of of America. Pretty much started obviously up here and moved toward Chicago, up to Michigan, up to Wisconsin, excuse me, then down through into Memphis, and then down south and through up and then back up, and then kind of did a bit of a circle there. So we stopped at a place in Memphis, and it was at a place, it was literally in the same building where Martin Luther King's killer was when he shot him, because the Lorraine Hotel was literally behind the building we were playing in. Very weird, very strange. The Lorraine at that point was a historical sort of, I'm not sure what it is anymore, but at the time they were trying to turn it into a museum slash sort of nonprofit type of peaceful kind of thing, and I'm not sure where any of that ended up as far as that goes. Anyway, this is a local. This is WMC TV5 newscast that we got after the fact that we had sent to us. So this is that newscast of us being interviewed before the show.
5 and Baptist Memorial Hospital. Just dial doctors.
It has been 2 years since the Memphis Center for Contemporary Art opened, bringing with it an opportunity for non-traditional artists. Well, the tradition of non-tradition continues, as Nancy Hart will show us in Heart of the Mid-South.
I will. Tonight and tomorrow, the Memphis Center for Contemporary Art is sponsoring an appearance by Meatballs Fluxus. Now, just to prepare you, Meatballs Fluxus is a performance art group from Providence, Rhode Island. It's made up of artists and musicians and performers who want you to forget everything you already know about art and music and theater.
The only thing that's traditional here is that they've set up like a band, sort of. This is Meatballs Flexus, a group of square pegs who never quite fit into the round holes of tradition. So members have joined together, creating an alternative.
We specialize in doing a real mixed variety of things. Absurdist type theater pieces, free improvisational music. We're free advocates of chaos and anarchy. We like to get people to reassess themselves, their value systems.
Can you tell us how to get to the egg farm?
They want their audiences to come away from the performances with different ways of looking at the world, not to take things for granted.
Get up, go, up faster, now everyone! March, leave, and go to the egg farm!
Most of the program is improvised, although there is a structure to the evening, which lasts almost 2 hours. Jim Finnerty says that working in such a non-traditional environment has helped him as an artist.
It totally freed me up as an artist. I think I've created, and I think most people in the group this applies to also, I've created more material in the last couple of years because there's nothing hindering you. There's no set system that you have to adhere to. You don't have to write a symphony. You don't have to be, there are no value systems that a traditional academic approach to the art places on you.
Meatballs Flexus performs tonight and tomorrow at Memphis Center for Contemporary Art. You're invited. Leave your traditional ideas at home.
The shows will be at 7 tonight and tomorrow night in Theater Works, which is right next door to the Memphis Center for Contemporary Art on South Main Street.
Non-traditional ideas for humor as well. The Meatballs Fluxus, where do they come up with?
Well, it's sort of a long story, but meatballs, I guess, in Rhode Island means people who don't quite fit in, and flexus sort of means that they're in a constant state of change.
Constant state of change. Thank you so much, Nancy. Mason?
Well, as long as we're talking about colorful breaking of traditions, today's children, you know, they like their colors bright and flashy, we're told. And
that the children, they like their colors bright and flashy. Yes, we do. Yeah, we told them what meatballs meant. Meatballs Fluxus. Meatballs is a pejorative a racist description, basically, of an Italian. At the time, the first three original meatballs, the three we were called the three meatballs, was Bert Krenka, Manny Pombo, and myself. We were the first. Well, we were the three originals. I I did one show with them behind a sheet, and then promptly bowed out so that I could spend my focus or put my focus towards my rock band. And then another West Warwickite, Jerry Hero, took my place, and I eventually rejoined very quickly, pretty much. But we were the three first ones, anyway. So that's where meatballs comes from. It's a kind of a racist pejorative of being Italian. It was not about people who don't fit in. Fluxus is a constant state of change, yes, but it's also a nod to the Fluxus movement. So they kind of oversimplified what Meatballs Fluxus was meant to be or purvey as a name. But that's okay. Yeah, I showed that once before. So one of the things that we used to do is, oops, hang on. We did a piece. I think I want to say we did this a couple of times, but well, this particular type of piece we did, I think, a couple of times. But we did a live thing. So a couple of things. So we used to do anything we could do, any way we could introduce drinking on stage, we would do it. Whether that was if it was just, drinking on stage while we were doing our pieces, that's fine. Which eventually just sort of devolved into, let's figure out an excuse to drink on stage, whatever that means. We would literally, write the pieces around why we were having a beer on stage, and then follow through. But one that was really fun, I thought was fun anyway. And this was, you got to remember, this is also done in, this would have been, there is a date on it, actually. It's February 6th, 1993. So, we're talking almost 30 years ago. And what we were doing is that we had a camera on us, a closed circuit camera, that was then fed through into the main space. We were in a side room. We were the main space of AS220. There was a regular show going on, and we were part of it, but we were only part of it in as much as we were basically playing poker in this side back room in real time, playing real poker for real money, and not a lot of money, but just change, and drinking and kind of having a good time, and that was the piece. That was pretty much it. So this is I don't have the there's no footage of the main space of what it looked like. This is just the camera feed from the side room. So basically what was being fed to the other room. And so, I mean, I'm not going to play this whole thing, obviously, but, it went on for, close. It was about 50 minutes, a little over 50 minutes of time. And, and again, for those who don't know, we used to do the Cabaret of the Oddly Normal. We would do this is kind of toward the end of it. Truthfully, 1993, we did maybe one more year of it, or thereabouts. Not even, we were, yeah, I guess maybe one more year. That's probably safe to say. Before we moved into the new building, and we had been doing almost every Saturday night, Meatballs Fluxus. We would we would either open the show or end the show, depending. Usually open the show, now I think about it. And then there would be some sort of act that would end the night. But we would open the show with pretty much a new show for the most part every week. We would recycle some stuff, obviously our greatest hits and this and but we had a lot of theme shows, and again, there was so much material I don't remember most of it. So we would do about an hour of I remember we would rehearse. We would get together on a Monday night and drink and come up with ideas and bring in pieces. Monday, so that would be Monday. I believe we then would get together on Tuesday and rehearse it somewhat, and then we would then Saturday we would get together and do another rehearsal. I want to say that's how we did it. Yeah. Before we did the show that night, we would get together and set it up and do what we needed to do, and we did this for years. I mean, we did this from, I want to say 1988 through into 1993 and 4. So, and then toured in between that and did other big shows in other states. It was a lot of work. We spent a lot of time during all of that. And I was in a rock band during a lot of that. I was a couple of different rock bands, to be honest, and I was still working. God, no wonder why I was shattered. It was a lot of work for not a lot of money, obviously. But anyway, here's the Meatballs poker tape, for such as it is. It's there somewhere. There we go. Got to remember, again, these are all from VHS tape. Long before cameras were de rigueur on people's cell phones or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, big mistake. I got roped into this.
Is that the end of your $10?
No,
Oh, man. Oh, God. As I say, that was quick.
I just throwing the money in.
It's all right. It's very exciting when you win one, Jerry.
Yeah. I won one the other night.
Yeah, there you go. Before we played for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got it now.
We got it? Oh, good.
No problem.
And there's sound and everything?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
You can hear it?
Yeah. Well, John Gray's going on pretty soon, so. But there's sound on the other one too.
All right, let's get started.
Should I deal Tom into this or no?
Mom,
Dad,
I don't know.
Nicolanti?
No, Nicolanti. What are we playing?
Just.
You the sound's on.
Yeah. Well, John's got covered for his part.
My card draw.
So we got
That's the one I lose at.
we got Manny, Tom, Susan there doing the camera. Again, I'm there. Jerry Hero, Burt Krenka, and a gentleman who was a sort of temporary intermediate meatball by the name of Eric Armour, who was a young, strapping Scottish lad who played the bagpipes, and sort of ended up in the Meatballs kind of thing. He had a he was somehow open to whatever the fuck we were doing, and we would just kind of insert him as a bagpipe player or whatever we needed. I don't know, but he's here, and so we're here, as you can see, drinking bad beer, smoking cigars and cigarettes, and playing Nicolanti poker. And to be honest, I had a lot of fun this night.
Pity you.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, I can't read that.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna lose this game. Draw. Yeah. It's a shit game for me.
Put it on the die. I took my change.
May change in the pot here. I don't know.
Trust me.
Okay.
That sucks.
We're flipping.
Well, show me your cards there, Tom.
Is this anything to open?
Bert, it's your bet for an opening.
Big fucking deal.
Technical.
How many cards can you take up to? Three is the highest.
Mhm.
Oh. What is it? What's it cost me?
Nickel.
Nickel.
I'm winning.
Yeah, 3.
We're gonna have a roast tomorrow.
Joe? 3, please. Tom? How about
3.
no, it's 4. Joe takes 3. It's a game between.
Well, it's that side of
It's
the
up to
table.
me, right?
Yeah.
Well, considering I'm only playing against 2 people.
Don?
Yeah, just you. And I'll throw in a quarter.
My ass. I don't have a beer.
Okay, what do you got, everybody? Let's see the hand.
2 jacks.
Jacks. I have 2 jacks.
King
Pair of
high.
jacks.
Two
King
jacks.
high,
King,
king
king,
high,
queen,
queen,
queen.
Lost it on the 4th card. Okay, Bert, you got it.
Well, how come my pile? I didn't play
His
with
pile
it.
isn't quite so big. I just dropped. That's because fucking nobody had shit. Nobody was worth the gamble, and if they
That's
were,
for
they
sure.
would have had you beat. So take it and
Take it and
be happy.
Yeah.
7 cards starts. Maybe any up. Any up.
What is it, 4 now?
For you.
Yeah, really. You want to serve?
This is
You want a
for
cut?
real, right? I get to keep the money, right?
Don't you offer a cut? Get shot.
Are you supposed to?
You know. Of course you are.
Yeah.
It's a real poker game.
Always.
All right.
I don't know. I still
This thing, John Grace was gonna be over by 10, and I got voted out. I think 15 or something.
What are we playing?
7 card.
Did many more people come in?
What did you say?
Yeah,
Oh, 7 cards.
7 card draw.
I love the little
Okay,
space heater in the
10.
background too.
You're best.
What is it now?
Because you're
The
gonna.
design deal.
Stinky.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, right.
You're still in with us, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm selling.
4-8. I don't know
Hey,
what that
Jerry,
means.
a lot of
2
cards to
spades, 8-10. Possible straight flush right there in front of your eyes. 2-6,
that.
2 diamonds. 10-5 don't mean shit. 9-3, I can't make much of that either. A pair of nothing. So 10-8 bets.
Give me 10 cents.
I can't believe how quick both people get bowled on nothing.
And
But anyway,
I'll bump it aside just to make the pot grow.
you in?
Bastard.
I'll spend
You
it.
gotta mix.
One more card.
Yeah, you gotta keep it. You gotta
One more card. If I
It
don't
gets
get a
rid
real
of the
straight
people with
flush.
nothing in their hand. Get them out of here.
Jerry's got an ace. Jerry's on a roll. 8, 9, 10. You're out, right? King, I hope that's of no help to you. King and a queen. I've got 2 spades and at least 3 more in here.
Looks like I'm still.
No. Ace.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. No.
You got an ace over here, Jerry. You bet.
I'm not fine.
10.
You getting quiet, man?
Well, I didn't want to be too hot.
That's now you're bluffing. You actually have a hand
Since
now.
when, Manny?
Okay. 7, no help. Pair of 9s. 3, no help.
It's like
Ace,
shit over
king,
here,
9,
huh?
3. It doesn't mean shit. This is a spade coming up. Thank you. Pair of deuces. What do we got? Pair of 9s bets.
Pair of 9s.
What is that? Dime? I'm going to raise a dime. I'm betting on my flush. Okay, down in Doity. Down in Doity. Down in Doity. That was short, that sludge thing, huh?
No.
It did? We're just killing time back here.
Killing time. We're still.
Oh, come on,
Yeah,
baby.
it's about-
Be there.
Yeah, we're about right. You runs out. I figure him about 15 minutes for old John out here.
Okay, who's the?
That's it.
Who are we?
You got it. Take it.
Mine?
Yeah.
Great, good. I got 2 pair anyway. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, Jerry.
It could be a pair of 9s.
Ooh, my first pot of them.
I'm ready. I'm due. You want a pot yet?
Yeah, a little small ACDs.
Yeah, I will.
That's right.
I loved playing poker
I want
with
a large.
meatballs. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, give me a large.
Is that pizza still happening? Or is that...
Yeah, we should order some pizza.
I'm not hungry at all.
I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten all friggin' day. Anybody hungry? Anybody want to go?
Where's
on
my
with me?
absolute, Joe?
I was told not to buy it tonight.
Okay, Jerry, what
We'll get your absolute.
We're doing what we just did.
Seven star.
We're getting
That's the
together
game,
Tuesday
Jerry.
anyway.
That's
So.
I like that
money
game.
is, yeah.
What are we playing? I'm sorry.
7 cards.
Plus, there's some mystery. You know, it's like
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
a while to play it out.
Yeah. The other one's
Especially if,
like,
if
boom.
there's some good hands, it gets very exciting.
For those on
Yeah,
Instagram,
must be the
I'm watching
wrong
Meatball
camera.
Fluxus play poker
That's the Gallagher.
on YouTube.
Wow. This is interesting. See what this is? This is possible here. See that?
Jack bets, Jerry.
At a dime.
Okay,
There's a dime. Bump it a dime.
Jerry's getting bold.
He's learning the game better.
You laugh, Jerry.
He didn't win the whole freaking pot.
No, I don't think so.
You're a dude.
Right away.
Man.
You're nothing.
Deuce is good.
I'll bet 15.
15.
Nobody's bet 15 yet.
This
Yeah,
15.
so this will miss odd number.
All right, everybody's in on the 15.
this
Now I'm
15?
bumping it a dime.
Bumping into that?
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to bump it.
It's on your rig.
On your thing. Oh,
Well,
all right.
So we're bumping a dime?
yeah.
Like in those parking lots, it says slow bump.
Bump. Come on, Jerry.
This is a real interesting hand I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm got an
I'll bet a
interesting.
quarter.
Will, are you still? Yeah,
There
sure.
is deuces.
Yeah, bet a quarter.
Quarter.
Okay.
Oh man, this is so depressing.
I'm
gonna stay in and I'm gonna lose. Okay.
Is everyone in?
Yep, that looks like it.
What's this now? Another one. Another card. Oh,
Oh my
gee.
God.
A possible heart.
That dude still in there? That's a quarter.
Quarter. I'm bumping it a quarter.
I'll raise you a quarter.
And I'll raise that a quarter.
Wait a minute. You guys go
Slow
way
down.
too fast.
Yeah, you gotta wait till you
Just
I have no
raising and
idea
raising
what
and
I-
raising.
I raise it from the time camera. I raise it a quarter.
Then I
Here's
raise
my
it.
quarter.
Then I raise it a quarter.
Then he
Wait,
raises
let Jerry
Wait a
get in
minute.
first, though. Jerry's
Yeah.
got to get in before you.
You're rushing. You gotta wait one person at a time.
Okay, so here's my
The first
quarter.
quarter.
Okay.
First quarter.
All right, and we're in for another quarter.
Yeah.
No, not
No,
yet.
not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
All right.
I already. Yeah, I raised a quarter.
Now you put in 50 cents.
Yeah, because you
Okay.
raised one.
Okay.
Now it's 50 cents to me, and I'm raising a quarter.
So that's 75
What
50
the
cents.
fuck is going on here?
50 to me. Yeah.
50 to me.
25, 25, 25.
All right.
So it's 50 to me now.
50 to you. Yeah.
Here's my 50.
Oh, you guys are
And
gonna
50
be
to
kidding
Jerry.
me.
So it's 50 to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
50 to you, Jerry.
Wait a minute. I don't like that.
The first bill.
Come on.
Here we go.
Down, Jerry.
Another card?
One
Down.
down. One
Okay.
down.
I'm betting on that 8.
And
Woo!
I'll bet the quarter.
Tom bets a quarter.
Anybody want to trade cards? Just a
I'd go for
couple.
that.
Just a couple.
You're in for what is it? Quarter?
Yeah. All right. Tom bet a quarter. Here's Tom's quarter. I'm gonna raise it a quarter.
Man.
So there's another quarter going around.
another quarter?
Yeah. Everybody's hanging in there.
Actually.
Jerry with the cup of change.
I got it straight. 1098-765.
2 aces.
What do you got?
Can't.
What do you got, Joey?
It's straight.
2 jacks, 2 queens.
Well, it's not
No,
straight.
yeah.
5 cards would be straight. You got 2
cards.
pair.
Alright.
That's what you got.
Yeah, shit, 3 deuces.
So he had you beat.
Yeah.
So what were you doing with a pair of these?
I was trying to bluff the hell out of people. It didn't work out well.
Well,
Yeah.
wish I could get one.
I had those 3 deuces. I had those 3 deuces right there in the first
Oh,
3
man.
cards. So I thought, well, if I get
I'll
that beer,
try.
well,
What?
you want a beer?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Cigarette, cigar smoke.
If I didn't get that full vote, if I had the full vote, I would have raised it again.
It's almost
I
like
had the
a meal. I
inklings
feel like
of
I'm eating now.
straight right then. Then I got
Oh, you know something? That the girl that's behind the camera there, that was Jen. That's right. That wasn't Sue. Yeah, Jen was a lovely person who I don't know. She ended up eventually getting out of the AS220 thing. She was with Russell for a while, and then she just sort of disappeared. I never knew what ended up happening with her. So the again the meatball there, Eric Armour, who was with us for a lot of these things, unfortunately passed away. Geez, I don't even remember how long ago he passed away, but it wasn't. It wasn't. He was a young man. I want to say it was late. Yeah, it would have been like late '90s. I want to say '97 or '8, maybe. I don't know. Of cancer. Yeah, he was in his late 20s, I think, at that point. Yeah, he was a young person, and yeah, so we lost him to that. But that gives you a good idea, I think, of some of the things we would do. I mean, so that's 50 minutes of us literally just playing poker, shooting the shit, drinking, smoking. Um, I there was just that's the moment, those little moments of camaraderie that I really enjoyed with Meatballs. We all had a very like-minded kind of sense of whatever absurdity. Just our sensibilities were very similar, um, and you know, basically for the most part, we're all still in some semblance of contact via Facebook or whatever. Um, Unfortunately, Manny, um, who was alternately brilliant and infuriating. He he was a brilliant performer and writer, and in general. And uh, he and I used to we worked together at a place as well. He got me a job at the Athenaeum at one point when he was the custodian there. But we also used to do pieces together. We had an odd symbiosis, I think. And but Manny was tortured, had a drug problem for a while, long while, and unfortunately he kind of succumbed to that drug problem. And that was many years ago, and he is still kind of, he's not homeless. I don't believe he's fully homeless, but he basically, though I'm not sure if that's the case at this point anymore, but we do know I recently saw him out busking at a stop sign in Providence, not far from Burt Kranka's place, over this past Christmas holiday. Um, Otherwise, haven't really run into him, but he is, he's in his own mind at the moment, and he's one of those guys that there's potentially an alternate timeline where he his he made millions as a performer, as a non-mainstream performer, ended up with a television show, because I he could have been that person. He could have been that kind of personality. He was that good. And on a good day could play the hell out of a saxophone too. So it's a little bit of melancholy with that particular clip. You know, I mean, kind of is what it is. When you're, it's law of averages says that, especially with a band like Meatballs Fluxus, there were so many people in as part of the part of the act, even though we started with just the three of us and ended up being at any given points, upwards of 8 or 9 people on stage, doing stuff. So it was sort of, you know, the the pilot we did was literally, let's see how many people were there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, so it was 8 people. Yeah. And so it was 1991 where we did a pilot for PBS, which of course was never going to get picked up because, it was us, And I remember at the time, it was at that time, and Manny was still in the band and should have been there as part of that pilot, and it's a shame that he wasn't, because I often think that maybe if he had been a part of that pilot, maybe things could have been a little different, because he was a strong personality, I think, and I think that he could have. I wonder if his personality could have been oddly helpful in some ways. Whether we would have been really picked up or not, I don't know. I mean, we got lucky enough to get a PBS pilot, but that's about it. That wasn't going to get much beyond the fucking boardroom at that point. Anyway, but I remember the arguments at that point, because there was the argument that, well, we had to focus on this thing, do it right, and he was reticent and didn't want to really go there, and felt like we were, he yeah, no, he sort of bowed out at that point. So, but he was still in and out in the meatball firmament. So, the poker tape again happened in '93. So he was, once a meatball, always a meatball, really. So anyway, that's just me farting around tonight. I'm not going to troll Facebook tonight because I really don't feel like it. I'd just as soon kind of be insular to the many millions of people that I'm talking to at the moment. That again, it's Saturday, February 13th, day before Valentine's Day, 2021. No one's here. It's for all the millions and hundreds of people that come to see me or will listen to this after the fact. When all is said and done and the human race is run and the aliens come down and they wonder, hey, gee, I wonder what this humanity was like. And they find these odd little digital files of this hairy beast of a person talking on a microphone via Instagram and YouTube. Well, it's because of what I do. So, it is what it is. That's what I'm doing. I'm just fucking shooting the shit. People can come and watch me shoot the shit and shoot the shit with me, but if they don't, then they don't. I mean, I suppose if they don't after a while, if there's literally nobody coming to listen to me, then it's kind of got to wonder if there's not really much there's really much to sell here, obviously, but who knows. So what time is it? It's about 9:49. I've actually been up here for over 2 hours, so I think I'm going to call it a night. I need to go actually get some supper because I haven't eaten yet. Had kind of a late lunch, but I'm gonna have a late supper as well. So I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, excuse me. Yawning in your ear. We'll potentially be back next Saturday night, shooting a shit about something. Hopefully one of these days, maybe a night will happen where there's a Saturday where there's a bunch of people just hanging out, not doing much, and want to just kind of come by and say, hey, maybe. Who knows? That'd be nice. All right. On that score, I am going to call it. And it is, again, 9:50 on Saturday, February 13th, 2021. Stay safe. Wear a fucking mask. Don't be stupid. And, have a wonderful evening.